All right, will you please welcome to the stage a bioengineer, Michael Monaghan.
Thanks very much. So it's really nice to be here tonight, and it's my first stand-up comedy gig. And being here, it kind of brings something back to the front of my head, and it's this thing called Imposter Syndrome. So I'm a researcher, and I've been doing research for probably the last 12 years, and this is something that I guess I deal with. And has anybody heard of Imposter Syndrome?
Yeah.
Okay. If someone wants to share, hands up who has it. Okay. For those of you that don't have it or have never come across it, it's this kind of thing where you're kind of doubting yourself and wondering, what the hell am I doing in this job? You know, I'm a fraud. What am I doing here? I may have achieved a few things, but did I really deserve them? And when am I going to be caught out? Who's going to catch me out? And I guess being Irish makes this even more and terribly worse, because Irish people find it very hard to take a compliment. So you say to someone, you look really nice, and first thing they say is, thanks, pennies, you know. It's, I got this piece of shit in pennies. You know, you say, your hair looks nice, or you look good today, I didn't brush my hair, or that food you made is really, really good. Oh, it's undercooked, I didn't cook it right, you know. So we're always self-doubting ourselves. And this imposter syndrome then is, and it doesn't just happen in research, it happens in every line of work. It comes to the forefront all the time. And in my work as well, it becomes very heightened when you go to a conference or like a meeting of minds and so on, especially when you're a younger researcher. It feels like you're on the Titanic. And you're the third class passenger where you're Leonardo DiCaprio, and you've saved some girl on the balcony upstairs like she's a first class passenger, and you've been invited to dinner. And you sit down and you don't know which spoon to use at the beginning, and someone has to tell you which spoon to use. And it feels like that when you're at a conference. You don't want to ask a question because someone's going to find out that you're an imposter. And they're going to catch you out and kick you out of the community that you think that you should be in, and sometimes think you shouldn't be in. And sometimes when you are dealing with people and you're explaining your work to them, you don't know if they're there to try to catch you out. There could be a private investigator from the government, and they're trying to catch you out. So they start asking you questions. And you're kind of explaining yourself, and you see their eyes kind of roll a bit, and they start to smile, and their head goes to the side. And you know that they've caught you out. And you're trying to figure out who they are. And conferences, you wear a badge. And typically you wear the badge like around your neck, and the name's here on your chest. And sometimes it should always be facing forward, but sometimes you can't see it. And when you're talking to them, man or woman, because men and women both have chests, you're kind of looking at their face, and your eyes are dropping down slowly, and you can see them going, look at my face is here. And you're trying to figure out their name, or can you pronounce their name, and maybe you've seen their name in papers, and you want to see where they're from, and so on. And you're afraid that they're going to catch you out. But aside from that, I'm here to talk a little bit about my research as well. I'm a bioengineer, and what we strive to do is to create tissues in the lab towards treating disease or replacing organs that have become damaged through accidents or other types of disease. And something I've been interested in all my life, and it started when I was a child. I had this disease myself. It wasn't imposter syndrome then, it was a real disease. Now, imposter syndrome, some people think it's a real disease, brain disorder, and other people think it's just hippie kind of jargon. But at the time, I had this disease called Perthes disease. Now, it sounds really, really nasty because it rhymes with herpes, and it's a disease, but it's actually not that bad a disease. And in my particular case, it wasn't that bad. But if you can imagine your bones, and you know the song, and it's, you know, your shin bone's connected to your knee bone, and your knee bone's connected to your hip bone, and then your hip bone's supposed to be connected to your backbone or whatever. It's supposed to fit in the socket here. And in my case, it didn't, because the top of my hip was actually dying. So my parents noticed this, that I started to limp, and it was the 80s or early 90s at the time. So they brought me to the doctor, and the doctor decided that one leg was shorter than the other, so I had to get a special type of shoe. And so the shoe that I had to get to make this leg a bit longer had like an extra heel on it. So for about a year and a half, I was walking around with this massive shoe. My legs actually were the same length, or this one was shorter then. But I was walking around with this huge shoe all the time, trying to play football in the schoolyard in primary school with this massive shoe. But eventually they figured out that I needed surgery. So to do that, they had to fix the bone back up into the socket and break it a bit to make it longer. And then they decided to put this cast on me and put loads of like metal in my legs as well, which is what us bioengineers do. We design these metal plates that will go inside legs to make them longer or to heal them or get them to orientate better so that people can live better. But at the time, I had this huge cast and it went the whole way down my leg, and I had these braces between my legs, and there's this huge cast here, and like there was a few openings so that I could still function. And I was kind of like half man, half machine, but without any special powers. So, and it worked out okay. I mean, my legs, they grew again, and you know, I was able to function again. But after a while, I think it was a few years later, watching on TV, and at that point we only had 2 TV channels. We had RT1, Network 2, it was called at the time, the other one. And there's this movie that was shown was Terminator. And it was the better Terminator movie. I think the second one's better than the first, myself. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was there. And he was this robotic metal skeleton, and he had this living tissue outside of him. And this brought me to think then, kind of naively as a child, that this is possible maybe to do in the lab. And this is what we're trying to do at the moment, where we're trying to grow different types of tissue in the lab so that we can create new muscle and new heart tissue as well. That's what I'm mostly interested in. But the role of the job is much, much bigger outside of that, because I have to teach as well. And now with the advent of social media and Twitter and all these other things, the job's got way more complicated. So I don't know if you've ever watched this Netflix series. It's called Black Mirror. Yeah. Okay, so the first one is about a pig and the Prime Minister. They have to have sex. Don't watch that one. So move on. Move on to the other ones. They're much, much better. And there's one where there's the main character in it. She was in Jurassic World, the most recent one. And she's there and she has these retinal implants, and she has to like things all the time and rate things and share pictures and so on. And as a researcher now, that's kind of what part of our job has evolved to. So my online presence has got huge at the moment. And not that I'm a celebrity or anything, but I have so many different accounts. So I have a thing called an Orchid ID, a Research ID, a ResearchGate, a LinkedIn, a Zing, because I lived in Germany for a while, academia.edu, a Google profile page, so many different pages, and constantly I'm trying to update them. And so if I looked at the Black Mirror, maybe they had the right idea of where you have a retinal implant and you just have to blink every so often. So that you can like things or maybe upload your profiles or like it all the time. And it has made the job a lot harder, so, but more enjoyable at the same time. And so I've been Michael Monaghan. I've given you a short life story on what I'm doing today, and thanks a million.
Michael Monaghan, everybody.